Not to give up. We just wanted to see one more time if you could hear us, just because we think that it's an important conversation.
Very important.
So we'll try it one more time. I recognize that we're going above and beyond here, and maybe it's too hard. But Barbara is our friend from Brazil.
Oh wow.
She is so amazing. She came and met with us. Can you hear us now, or can you still not hear us? We know we've tried a number of times, and we're going to assume that you cannot hear us. But if somebody could give us a yes if you can hear us. Otherwise, we're just going to make a video and we'll post it later. Oh, you can hear us.
Great.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, at least one person. Andrea, I'm so grateful that you can hear us. So we're gonna try this again and continue on with what we were talking about. So thank you. And Catherine, I'm feeling so bad for you over there. I know that you were, I saw that you were on, but then we lost you. So we're gonna go from where we were. So we were talking about, one of the things that I learned, and thank you everyone for joining us again. I know we have been off and on so many times. So Trisha, thank you for your hooray. We were talking about kind of a sensitive topic as we were finishing and recognizing you couldn't hear us. So we're going to start again on that topic. So when I've been doing some research in Samoa and with Samoan women, and especially with Samoan women in leadership, in context of Elder Garrett Gong's talk, No One Sits Alone, I was talking to Moy and her family about abuse. So abuse is something that is common in Samoa, and frankly, I think it's probably more common than people talk about all over the world.
Yeah.
But I think in Samoa, at least we know that that's something that happens here. And so we were talking about, Moy was just talking about how we need to be able to talk more like heart to heart and have real conversations with people. And I'm just going to throw that out in the United States and in the rest of the world. As women, we do have Relief Society, but sometimes, and it was interesting to have you say this to me yesterday, sometimes we go to Relief Society or we go to an activity and we kind of watch the clock, and then the clock's over and Relief Society is over and everybody goes home.
Yeah.
But you don't actually have a conversation with people.
There's no listening, understanding, heart-to-heart conversations. Yeah.
And so one of the things that we were talking about was, one of the things that I left with as I left speaking with Moy and her family was what a difference it would make if women, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, would really listen to this talk by Elder Gong and the doctrine of the atonement of Jesus Christ and practice good listening skills and practice caring about each other, not just being with each other, but actually caring. And one of the things that I have learned as I've talked to many of the women who say that they've been abused is they felt like they had no one to talk to. They felt like they weren't allowed to talk. They felt like nobody cared about their abuse. They felt like they were too scared to talk about being abused. But I thought if they had women, if they went to Relief Society, or if they had small groups of women that they could trust, they may not be able to solve the problem, but at least they would feel heard.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So what do you think, Moy?
Yeah. So something that I've shared with Barbara is that in the culture, I can only speak for our culture and where I come from. There's kind of like the culture that we feel like we are not allowed to talk, and that there's a boundary between you and the other person, or especially the men, the male. And so with me, growing up, I always feel that I'm not allowed to talk. I feel like there's certain times to talk, and there's a certain way to talk, and there's certain things that you can talk about. You can't talk about everything. Like if there's something wrong in your family, you're not allowed to talk about it outside. So like with the abuse, many women in Samoa feel like they're not allowed to tell anyone what's going on in your home.
What about even with church leaders? Could you talk to your bishop about it or not?
I think sometimes it's kind of tricky, because sometimes they're because it's not for all bishops or presidents.
Yeah.
But from my experience, there have been some bishops and presidents, not presidents actually, but the bishops, they tend to just do it for the sake of just doing his calling or fulfilling his calling, but not to hear what I'm actually saying, like what I'm actually going through. Like, are you hearing what I'm saying? Are you hearing that I'm being abused?
Yeah.
Are you hearing this? what are you going to do about it? So it's just like, oh, okay. And then that's it. Like, there's no action. Where's the action? What are you going to do about it? Nothing. They just say, oh, okay, well, and I'm going to pray about you, and I'm going to pray for your family, and I'm going to fast. And they will always say, you know, I just urge you to pray and fast and you know, and then that's it. And then I leave the room, and there's nothing, you know, there's no heart-to-heart, one-on-one action going on. You know, I think for me, I wish there was a part where they can say, okay, I want you to come, you know, to my office, okay, twice a week.
Yeah.
We'll have a council. I'll let you know, you let me know of how it's going.
Yes.
And I give you these tips or these things that you can do throughout the week that could help you. You know, just something like that. You know, it has to be a regular visit. You know, it doesn't have to be just a one thing. Like, and then I don't see him again. I only just see him when something happens again, and then I go see him. But what about between those things that are happening? Maybe that's the best time to keep the visits or the counseling going. You know, not just that one time it happened. You know, that's something that I wish bishops, presidents, leaders would have done. Really, really go into detail of how they can help.
Yeah, so it's so hard, and I love what you just said, Natal Fern, educating on what abuse and trauma are needed to, and then on a lesser level, this can happen anywhere. And I think that's one of the things that is so important that we're talking about here. And I apologize, it's getting noisy, so we moved it back and forth with each other. But I think that's what we're talking about here with Elder Gong too. And I think this is one of the reasons why it's so important that we have each other and that no one sits alone.
Yes.
If you're in a situation, this is one of many situations, right? If you are someone who is abused at home and then you come to church and you're sitting alone, and often people who are abused tend to be more alone sometimes. They feel more alone, right? And so I love what he says here. He says, in the parable of the Good Samaritan, Jesus invites us to come to each other and to him in his inn. I love he says come to each other, not just the inn. You don't just go to church. You're taking the person that you found on the side, and often that person is you, and you're helping that person to get healed. And you're not just going to church and then saying goodbye. He says he invites us to be good neighbors. The Good Samaritan promises to return and recompense the care of those in his inn. Living the gospel of Jesus Christ includes making room for all in his restored church. And I'll say something, this may sound a little bit harsh sometimes, but sometimes I feel like those who may be expressing the hurt or the abuse, sometimes people may feel like, well, we don't want to take that on us, so we're not going to deal with that. We're going to let that person deal with it on their own, talk to the bishop. Where in reality, it seems what you're saying is a person like that, a person who is struggling that really needs friends. Yes, they really need love. They know that they need to know that they're cared for, right?
Yeah, right.
And I want to make this very clear. This is not just, I want to get very clear, this is not just Samoa. I have had friends and people who have struggled with this in other places as well, which is one of the reasons why I think this is so important. He says this too, the spirit of room in the inn includes no one sits alone. When you come to church, if you see someone alone, will you please say hello and sit with him or her? This may not be your custom. The person may look or speak differently than you. And of course, as a fortune cookie might say, a journey of a gospel friendship and love begins with a first hello and no one sitting alone. No one sits alone also means no one sits alone emotionally. And this is what you were just saying, right, Moy? Or spiritually. I went with a broken-hearted father to visit his son. Years earlier, the son was excited to become a new deacon. The occasion included his family buying him his first pair of new shoes. And this is where he tells that story. He says, but at church, the deacons laughed at him. His shoes were new, but not fashionable. Embarrassed and hurt, the young deacon said he would never go again to church. My heart is still broken for him and his family. And I see that. Maybe it's not that your shoes don't look good, but maybe it's you're not the way we are, or you're talking about skin color. I recognize this is something that I noticed. It's not that people are necessarily racist against people with other skin colors, but I will say it is always something that's fascinating to me. I go to family activities sometimes or church activities, and you will see people that are culturally more similar sitting together and people that are not sitting together. And not that that's a bad thing, because it's comfortable to sit with people that you're more like. Yeah. But I would love to encourage every woman listening right now, if you are sitting at a table where everyone is like you, move. Mm-hmm. Just move.
It means you need to move.
Yeah, it means you need to move. Go. If there are people that you don't know, if there are people that you are uncomfortable with, those are the people we need to be sitting with. So get uncomfortable. The gospel is not a gospel of comfort. It's a gospel of covenant. And if we want to have a covenant community and create Zion, we have to be uncomfortable. That's just reality, right?
Yeah. I just had a thought about that. So that is right, Barbara. And I can talk from experience. Sometimes, most of the time, if you are not comfortable with what you're doing, that means you're doing the right thing. Yeah. Like most of the time when I was a missionary, it gets really uncomfortable trying to go up to someone and say, hi, I'm the missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And you're talking, at the same time your mind is like, oh, please don't go, please don't walk away. It gets really uncomfortable, but you are actually planting a seed.
Yeah.
I mean, it can take just that one thing for you to do, and you'll be amazed at how the next missionary that comes along and meet this one person, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I met missionaries. Oh yeah, so what do you want to talk about? You know, and then it just goes, you know, but it's like planting the seed that matters. Like the first hello.
Yes.
First hello matters. You know, sometimes we feel like, oh no, she might not like me, or she might get uncomfortable, or maybe she's a snob. You know, she doesn't want to talk. You know, no, don't. Those are the negative things that are putting in your mind. But God says, make room, right? Make room. Doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, just make room. And that person should not be sitting alone.
Yeah.
No one sits alone.
You know, I think one of the saddest things that we see is people sitting alone, and then people think, well, they deserve to sit alone, they want to be alone.
Yeah,
I just don't think. Yes, there are people. There are times I admit that I've kind of wanted to be alone for a minute, but it's rare, and it's not even that. Sometimes you want to be alone, but you want to have somebody that you know cares, right? So even if you find somebody who's sitting alone, you don't even have to talk. You just put your arm around each other, right? I mean, you just say hi and just sit there and let them have a chance to talk if you want to, or just say, how are you? And then be quiet and just listen for a while. I know that I'm speaking to women who understand this, but I also know that I'm speaking to women that we could make a huge difference in the world if we would be willing to get out of our comfort zones even a little bit more than we already are. So I know that we are women who are listening to this podcast who are already doing our best. But I am going to give the encouragement today to do a little bit better. We're doing well. This is the President Hinckley, right? We're doing well, but let's do a little bit better. Let's set a goal to pray and then ask Heavenly Father, who is sitting alone emotionally that I don't know about, that could use my help. You could have, like I have, 12 siblings, or you could have a family that's large. There may be one person in that family that still is alone in a family of 13 people, right? Isn't that true?
That is true.
Yeah.
Yes, I come from a family of 10. And my sisters, I have a sister that actually feels alone all the time.
Yeah.
And I do my best to reach out to her. And then she feels that nobody hears her, nobody cares. She always say this, you know, nobody can hear me. Nobody can see me. They can't see me. And that's why she goes an extra mile to do things so that people can hear her or see her. And so that's very true. You can be in a room full of people and still feel alone. And that's because it's our emotions. It's within us. It's inside of us. And that's why we really need to listen. And we really need to start getting out of our comfort zone and do the first step. Take the first step of saying, oh, how are you? You know, just a simple, oh, how are you? How was your day? And then they're like, oh, good. And then something that I've learned on my mission is building the relationship of trust.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very important. You gotta find something, look for something that you know that you will have a common conversation about.
Yes,
You know, something,
yes.
you know, if you look at the shoes or look at, oh, hey, you're wearing that brand. That's my favorite brand of shoes.
Yes.
And it just like breaks the ice.
Yes,
Like, oh,
yes.
wow, she's cool. I'm going to talk to her, you know, and then those are some of the things that I think that we should get out of our comfort zone and do. Just do it. Don't even think about it. Just do it, and you'll be amazed of the things that are gonna happen.
I think what Moy and I are saying is we see and hear people, and we talk about this all the time. But I would say in the last few months, I have not only seen how important it is, but I have felt the loneliness of women all over the world. I have felt the loneliness of the women in Switzerland and in Germany and in England and in the Middle East and now in the Pacific Islands. And it's not that it's just sad. It is, we need each other. As women, we need each other. There's a reason we have Relief Society. There's a reason we aren't all on our own individual island. Even on this island, there are many people. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? I have seen people, we talked about abuse. He actually talks about this in his talk. Elder Gong says, on the dusty roads to Jericho, each of us has been laughed at, embarrassed, and hurt. Every one of us. There's not a person on the earth who has never been made fun of. Like, everybody has had an experience like this. And then he says, perhaps scorned or abused. And with varying degrees of intent, each of us has also disregarded, not seen or heard, perhaps deliberately hurt others. It is precisely because we have been hurt and have hurt others that Jesus Christ brings us all to his inn. In his church and through his ordinances and covenants, we come to each other and to Jesus Christ. We love and are loved, serve and are served, forgive and are forgiven. Please remember, earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot heal. Earth burdens lighten, our Savior joy is real. So I think it's important that we also help people come into Christ. But I want to be careful in this, and this is what Moy was saying. One of the things that she's saying is it's really easy to say, go pray about it, or go fast about it, go to the temple.
Yeah.
And those are good things. Those are fantastic things, and we want to be doing that. We want to become more spiritually self-reliant. But Jesus Christ has taught us himself that he is using us as his hands.
Yeah.
So if we're going to say, go fast about it, we may also want to be saying, and I'll be at your house tomorrow at 12 o'clock to see how you're doing.
Yes.
Right? Don't just go fast, but what can I do to serve you? And I think another thing here, Moy, and you can talk to this too, is one of the reasons why I love the story of the road to Jericho is that the man doesn't give the other man who is laying on the ground what he thinks he needs. He actually does help him. He actually does give him the money to stay in the inn. He actually does help him with his wounds. And it doesn't seem like the man can talk, so he's trying to observe carefully, what are the needs of this man? He gives him water because he knows he's thirsty. He helps him with his wounds because he knows he's bleeding, right? And if the man could talk, knowing what the man from Jericho, what he was experiencing, I think that the man would have a conversation with him. He would say, what do you need? And I think that that's something that we need to do a little bit better. Sharon Eubank has talked about this in her book. And we also had Deb Berry from Wales that was on this talk with us. Is one of the things that she said to us is, we need to serve people according to what they need and listen to them so that we know what they need rather than serving them the way we think they need. So that's part of being willing to listen rather than talking over, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like what I said before, you listen to understand, not to listen because you want to answer the question, like just to answer the question or to answer what they're trying to say. Because most of the time we listen to what they're saying and then thinking of what to say. You know, that's really natural for us to do. But we need to stop doing that. We just need to just listen. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You can just listen, to what they're saying because they just want to pour out their feelings and their emotions and how they're really feeling inside. And then when you just listen and with your eyes, eye contact, that's very important. Looking at it. And if you're listening and you're looking like, oh, getting distracted or looking at the watch, oh my gosh, what time it is it? And then that's just gonna make them feel okay. She's just here to do her job. She's not here to really listen to me. And that's something that I learned, is that sometimes you don't even have to say anything. Yeah, you can just listen.
So I want to maybe do an experiment, and I don't know if Moy is going to be willing to do this or not, because I'm putting her on the spot.
That's okay.
But today I met her son. How old is your son?
Okay, so my son is 7 years old.
Okay, and I don't know a lot about her son, but I know he was in a car accident.
Yes.
And can you just tell us a little bit about what happened to your son?
Okay, so my son was, he just turned 1, and then he got into a car accident. This is a very personal
If it's too personal, it's okay too.
experience for me. I feel like I'm still trying to. Sorry,
that may be too personal.
No, I don't talk about it much because it's very personal to me, and it's a very sacred experience for me, because that's how I really came to know that there is a God and that He is real, that He actually is a person, like He really knows who you are and what you're going through. And so my son, he just turned 1, and then a car ran over him, and the car wasn't even speeding, and that's very crazy because, and so the only thing that was damaged was his head. So because his head was the one that was hurt, he lost the ability to walk and to move, to talk, all the motor skills and everything, even the ability to actually know what's going on, like to know you, he lost it all. And so he was rushed to the hospital. I wasn't there when it happened. I know this is very important of following the Spirit, because that day I didn't listen to the Spirit. The Spirit told me to go home, because I had just gotten a new job. I moved jobs around because it was hard at my first job. It was getting me away from my family and from church. That was hard for me. So I had to change my job, but it was a good money job, and that's why I kept it, because it really helped my family and my kids. But then it got really hard, and so I had to move job. So I didn't listen to the Spirit. The Spirit told me to go home that moment, if I had gone home that very moment I got the prompting, I know I would have, saved his life.
Yeah.
But then it happened, and I got to the hospital. He was there, and I don't know how to explain the feeling that I was feeling, but I was crushed. And this is why I don't talk to anybody about this, about how I felt that day, because I feel like I kind of blamed myself because I wasn't there and I didn't listen to the Spirit, and I didn't know who I can talk to about it, because at that time there were a lot of things going on with the family, and I felt like I couldn't talk about it. Anyway, the person that ran him over was my own family member.
Oh, wow.
And that's the most crushing thing. I mean, it was an accident. I can't say, oh, it's your fault, but the hurting part is that he never said sorry. He never came to me and said sorry, which maybe it's a very prideful thing for me to expect him to say sorry, but it would be nice to come up and say, sorry.
I'm sorry, I hurt your child, the one you love so much.
And I hurt you because I was hurt. I couldn't go back to work. Even up until now, I can't go back to work because I had to stay with him because he can't walk. And he needs attention, like full attention. And so this is why, and he was, convicted for it because I went and reported it because people were telling me that it was a hit and run.
Oh, wow.
So they lied to me. They were trying to cover him up.
Yeah.
Which, that's very crushing because it's my own family.
Yes.
It's related to, right?
Yes.
And so I still feel crushed about it up until now because this person really didn't say sorry. He has never said sorry. But I hear that he's struggling with his life, which I think God is the one that should punish him, not me. And that's something that I've made peace with.
Yeah.
Like I made peace with that because I know there's a God and that he will always do what he knows that should happen. But for me, the only thing, and I literally begged and made a deal with my Father in heaven, that if I could only keep him, I don't care what condition he would be in, if he can't walk or if he can't talk, but at least he can still stay with us. And so that's something that's very personal and sacred to me, about this experience. And this is something that I've never talked to anyone about, even my bishop or anyone, leaders. And that's because I felt like I should keep it to myself because I don't want, anyone to know that this was a family thing. Like this was within my own family, with my own circle, and it's kind of embarrassing,
It's hard.
If it's especially in the Samoan culture. If you're gonna talk about it, and it's about your family, it's embarrassing. They're gonna be saying, "Oh, what? Your own family, like your own relative, did that to you?" And they're gonna be judging it and then saying all these things about your family, which is something that you don't want.
Yep.
And that's something that this is happening. This is happening in Samoa. Like you tend to keep this inside your own circle is because you're afraid of what people are gonna think, of what they're gonna say, and also you're afraid of what your family gonna think. Like, oh, she went and told everyone about this and that and this and that, and she said that we're bad and that, and so it's something that I've made peace with. I know I'm still crushed about it, but I keep it really down low because I'm grateful that he's still with us.
Yes.
That's the one important thing, is that God gave him back to me, because he really was gone. Like he was gone. He was on he was in a coma.
Wow.
For a week. And then I had to beg God. Like I've never prayed so much.
I bet. Yeah.
I never did that before. Like I really had a conversation with him. Like literally, he was really talking to me in my head and in my mind, my feelings. God was really talking to me and saying, well, you better serve me. You better do this. You better go back to church. And at that time, I wasn't in church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I didn't have a calling at that time. I was not, I was just working. And so I felt like he was telling me, well, if this is what you really want, then go back to church, do your calling, serve me, and help my kingdom.
Wow.
And that's something I did. I went back to church, and then he came back, and I made my promise. Okay.
And you kept your promise.
Yes, I kept my promise. I'm still going.
And he kept his promise.
And he kept his promise. And that was really real, because my son was gone. Like he really died. Like there was no life in him anymore.
Wow.
But because I was at his bed, and I asked him, please, if I can just keep him, I don't care how he would be, if he can't walk or whatever, as long as he's still with me. I think sometimes I feel like that was selfish, because maybe my son really needed to go, or maybe he wanted to go. Maybe my son wanted to go, or maybe God really was his plan to go. But then, because I guess it was a test of faith as well for me, and what I believed in, and at that time I felt very connected, and I felt like I was heard and seen.
Absolutely.
by him, because he came back and you saw him.
I did. I just met Moy's son. He is a beautiful little boy, and I had forgotten that he got in a car accident, because he looks so handsome and happy in his countenance and things. So you clearly love him, and he's being well taken care of. Yes. Which, thank you for that. And Moy, just for everyone, I didn't know anything about this story, and I think I know Moy knows that, and apologize for putting you here, but
Oh,
I
no,
also think it's healthy.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't talk about it.
Yeah,
Right? I don't.
yeah.
I feel like nobody really asked. Nobody asked me. Nobody really asked me, and then sometimes people do ask, but then at that moment, I feel like they're just asking just to know the details, like, you know,
Yeah,
but
not about you.
but not to really know how affected I was, or how I really felt about it, or like wanting to be like understand you, you know. For me,
Yeah.
they only just want to ask because they just want to know the details, like, oh wow, really? I didn't know that. Oh, you know, like the
Yeah.
gossip kind of asking.
Yep.
But you know, for me, it's the spirit. Like I'm like a very strong person, which I very much listen to the prompting. Well, sometimes I don't, but mostly I listen. Okay, don't tell that person. You know, like,
Oh, yeah,
no,
absolutely.
I don't think, you know, I don't have that feeling, and I feel like with you and my Uncle Britt, I feel like everything just like flow, and then I know that's the spirit helping me to release and to like unleash the load. And I guess this is an example of the road to Jericho.
Yes, that's exactly. I mean, bringing us back
This
on
is how
topic,
it
right?
should look. This
Yeah.
is how it should turn out, you know. And so I thank you, Barbara, for doing this. It's an encouragement for me to get out and speak out, because it would encourage other women to come out, you know, and to speak about their what they're hurting inside, and what's happening to them.
Yeah.
Because this is how we know how to serve them, or how to help them, is listening.
And I think that's one thing that's so important. I'm looking. We have a number of people that have commented
Oh,
on here,
okay.
and I think it's. But you have a few. Like America says, I hope it proves healing that you shared your story with us, and that you feel our love coming at you from all over the world. We love you, and boy, I know that that's true. Many of these women I've been with, many of us we've just met over the internet, so we haven't had a chance to like touch each other like we are. But many of us are, and I know. And this is one of those beautiful things about doing this Instagram live and being able to meet women is we learn from each other. Like we need each other. To hear you say, Moy, that this is the first time you've talked about it, and here we are, me meeting you yesterday for the first time, but loving you immediately, because I could tell you were a real person, and you had real thoughts and real feelings, and you are a powerful woman. And I knew that. Which is why I invited you to come and be here with me, because I felt like the rest of the world needs to know Moy. And the rest of the world, you have something to share that people need to hear from. And even these women that are here, I mean, this one, Collins family, thank you so very much for sharing with us in this Sisters in Zion live. And then this says, thank you for much for sharing that experience. And we're just seeing all of these women who are just so grateful that you're here. I mean, this person's from Tennessee saying she's checking in. Oh, this one.
Experience. Felt like some people didn't believe me.
There you go, right? Thank you for sharing. They didn't even, they feel like they don't believe here. And then this one, Andrea, dear Moy, you are strong and brave, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And then from Lori, hugs to Moy, thank you. And then this is from Kat. I think many women hold deep hurts that they haven't been able to share. How grateful for the atonement of Jesus Christ and eternal families. So I recognize again that Moy, we started this a little bit late, and we have women that are on it now, and we'll have other women that watch this later. And but we so appreciate you sharing, and I think this is what we're talking about. I will finish with Elder Gong's talk, and thank you, Barbara. Yes, from Brazil. She said, Elder Gong says this: in his restored church, we are all better when no one sits alone. And I saw yours, Lori, about sometimes with the wheelchair, it's hard. But I love how you said there are other ways. And Lori reaches out so well. She's a text away or a phone call away and a love away. But then he says this: let us not simply accommodate or tolerate. I love that. We're not just here to accommodate each other or tolerate each other. He says, let us genuinely welcome, acknowledge, minister to, and love. May each friend, sister, brother not be a foreigner or a stranger, but a child at home. And I love that song from the Tabernacle Choir. If you haven't heard that, I'll play that with you. And you guys, if you have a chance to look that up, he sings a song, and like a child at home, Tabernacle Choir, it's so good. And then he says, today many feel lonely and isolated. Social media and artificial intelligence can leave us yearning for human closeness and human touch. Your sister was saying that yesterday. She says it was kind of funny, but she said, I'm so lonely, so I get on the internet and I scroll, and I wanted so bad. I didn't say it to her, but I was like, if you put your phone away and get to know somebody, maybe that'll help, right?
Yes.
It's just so hard but at the same time, you don't want to be alone. So it becomes a way that you can get over it, right?
Get over it.
But we need each other. And then he says, we want to hear each other's voices. We want authentic belonging and kindness. And just like, your sister is so fun. I just thought, if anybody had a chance to be with her, they would love her, right?
Exactly.
Then he says this, and we're just going to finish off, if that's okay. Then I'll let you have the last word. He says, there are many reasons we may feel we do not fit in church, that speaking figuratively, we sit alone. We may worry about our accent, our clothes, family situation. Perhaps we feel inadequate, the smell of smoke, yearn for moral cleanliness, have broken up with someone and feel hurt and embarrassed, are concerned about this or that church policy. We may be single, divorced, widowed. Our children are noisy. We don't have children. We didn't serve a mission or came home early. And then he quotes Mosiah 18:21, which invites us to knit our hearts together in love. And then he says, this is my invitation to everyone here. He says, I invite us to worry less, to judge less, to be less demanding of others, and when needed, be less hard on ourselves. We do not create Zion in a day, but each hello, each warm gesture brings Zion closer. Let us trust the Lord more and choose joyfully to obey all of his commandments. And then he goes back to being a covenant group and belonging to Jesus Christ. And I will just finish with this because I know we're over time, but I will just finish with first of all, my love for Moy. It's been the most fascinating thing to me as I have traveled in many places and been with many people throughout this world, how the Lord will guide us to one person, or he'll guide us to a group of women. And it's like the Lord is saying, you need to be friends, or there's more you can do, or you can learn from this person. And most of it is just, this person is your sister. And I love meeting women, and I love being taught by women, and I love the love that we have for each other. So as we're finishing today, I just, first of all, just testify that we need each other, and that we are supposed to need each other. We need each other like we need water. And sometimes we are the ones who need more, and sometimes there are others who need us more. But most of the time, we all just need each other. And if we can get out of our comfort zone, then we will find our lives blessed in such a way, just as Jesus Christ. He says he suffered so much because he loved so much. But he wouldn't have given up his suffering because he wanted the love. And I know that is true of us. I pray that no one really does sit alone emotionally, spiritually, physically, in any way that we can, that we can reach out for help, and that we can also reach out in help and sisterhood, and creating Zion, one heart, one mind, and there are no poor among us, right? Yes. So I say that with Moy here as a dear friend now, here from Samoa, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And I'm giving Moy the last words.
Oh, okay. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in at this time with me and Barbara, especially meeting you all online. I know I don't know you, or I don't see you, but I know, and I can feel. I know how it is when there's hard times and trials and things. Sometimes it just kind of, drag us down. But I know by just simply saying hello to a friend or someone next to you, I know that will help you heal as well with whatever you're going through. And with everyone listening, I just want to say thank you to Barbara for putting me on this live. I'm an introvert, so this is very surprising that I'm doing this with Barbara because I'm not really a out there person, but I know I need someone. I know that for sure, and I can testify that everything that we've said is so true, and that's just talking from the experience and also the spirit that is here with us, because I did pray this morning to just help us to know what to say, because we need to say what you guys need to feel and what God wants you guys to hear and feel. And so from me to you, I just want to say thank you and hope that Heavenly Father will touch you in a way that we've been touched this morning by the Spirit with what you need to hear and what you need to feel. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, boy. Love you. Love you so much.
Thank you, Papa.
Okay, let's turn this thing off. We love you all. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you next week. I'll be back in the United States. Thank you. Love you all. Have a great week. Go sit with someone, or hug someone, or listen to someone, or speak to someone, or walk with someone. Walk with him. That's what we're talking about. Walk with him.
Exactly.
Yep. We love you all.